Hair's all growing out, Brian. Mhm.
Brian, my sister told me to tell you hi. I don't know if you know that I'm Lauren and Shane's little sister.
Wonder if Brian can you hear us, Brian?
What did I miss?
Oh, I said my sister told me to tell you hi. I don't know if you know that I'm Lauren and Shane's little sister.
I did not know that. That would make sense though.
Yeah. Yep.
I can, I guess, yeah, connecting back, I think she said something about like visiting her sister in some other country that was doing retreats. Okay, cool.
Costa Rica. Yeah. Hey. Nice to meet you.
Mhm. Okay. Um, so this is the mini retreat. So we're going to start with some sitting. Um, See if that surprises anyone. Looks like everyone's okay with that. So a little bit about posture and whatnot. If you can, it's good to have a three-pointed stability here. So you have your your sits bones, okay, and then it's nice to have a couple of points that you can stabilize, like a tripod of stability. So, hi everybody. We're going to start with the little sitting. It's okay if you can't do that. It's This is half lotus, and so I've got pretty good little base here of 2 points on the front, and then my sits bones. Okay, and it's if you sit in Burmese, they call Burmese, that's okay, but your butt might start to slide under. So kind of be careful of that. And I would be careful of something called like quarter lotus, where you're bringing your foot up a little bit onto your calf. That can be a little bit dangerous over time with your knee. And of course, Seiza is okay, where you sit on your knees and you can put a little cushion under your butt. That can work too. Um, but what you don't want to do is torque the knee too much. You want to put the pressure into the hip joint, soft tissue, ideally. So if you're going into like a half lotus or a full lotus, you're working with the soft tissue in your hip, and that's malleable. The knee joint is not malleable, so we don't want to torque that, put a lot of pressure on that. So actually the half or the full lotus, they're partly what they're doing is they're putting all the pressure into the hips, and that's malleable. And what we're doing here is we're opening up that quad, the same quad that we're opening through the ZZ, the deep pelvis. And that's the benefits of the half and full lotus come from deeply opening the pelvis, letting the energy come through the central channel. And it's okay if you can't do that. Like if you even just sitting in a chair is just fine. Um, if you can if you can gently work towards that, don't be a hero. Don't push it. And maybe some of us never get to full lotus. That's okay, but not forcing that. And if you got an injury, it's okay to go into just sitting in a chair, all that. So, but yeah, that three-pointed stability is really, really helpful. And of course, we're putting the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Laying the tongue along the roof of the mouth. Used to be that I just kind of instructed to put the tip there behind the top teeth, like you were going to say love, but I think laying the tongue along the whole roof is better. And you're slightly engaging the pelvic floor, but not forcing that at all. Deeply relaxing. I don't really want to get into breathing techniques here because I think there are a lot of traditions here. But eyes are open habitually, like you're staring at a spot, maybe slightly down, but don't get too fixated on that. I think the eyes are soft. They're not too penetrating, although I think they will be penetrating at times, and it's not about stopping that either. Okay, let's take some time in sitting, maybe about 10 minutes here. Deeply relaxing. Okay, great. How about we do a little bit of warm up? Great to see everybody. I have a little cold. Pardon me, my voice. Let's get started. Warming up the knees a little bit. I like to kind of work a little bit on this first hour. So we're going to go through a few different ZZ postures. Get things cranking a little bit. Change in direction. Good to see you, Elijah. Good to see everybody. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge movement. It can be slow. It can be just gentle. Being careful with the knees. You know, they're maybe not the best design. And then hip circles. Leaning into the ground to make the movement happen. I'm just in a dynamic way, I'm stacking the body as I move. So as we move, it's like we're continually finding that route to the ground and standing up through it and changing direction. Instead of, using our joints for stability, we're creatively finding the ground the whole time. And little circles, just little circles. I think the little circles can be a little disarming. It's like, oh, what do I do? I'm not, it's a little bit subtle. And the little circles you can see, oh, the whole body sort of gently coming along with the whole movement. Just the pelvis is moving, but my whole body sort of, oh, I can see how it's connected in a different way in this more subtle movement. Releasing, changing direction. Great, great. How about spinal waves? I'm curling down, curling down, curling down, curling down, diving out and up. Then diving out and curling up. And how about, as if we're drawing a big circle with our forehead, so I'm going down to the left and up and around to the right. Releasing the spine, releasing the arms. Changing direction. Great, great. And how about imagining this, the center of the earth coming through the middle of the body to the Ba point, and the Ba point is shining up to the heavens. The lower body sinking into the earth. And then just gently, how about we just gently start to rotate around that? Just let the arms go. No need to get, too intense yet. Just gently rotating around that. Let the arms go. Not forcing. Gently. Gently just rotating around that pure vertical. It may be a little bit faster, but not, not getting like aggro all of a sudden, just not forcing. Great, great. I think with our timing this morning, let's move into our ZZ. Feet are parallel, shoulder width. Your feet aren't, they're not rigidly in concrete here. So don't kind of lock the feet in place. I think staying gentle with the feet. My feet are parallel, finding the bubbling well, releasing the feet, the ankles are soft, the knees are bent. The pelvic floor has a sense of dynamic connection. Maybe there's a sense of a slight buoyancy through the arches of the feet, which you also feel in the pelvic floor. You'll notice, I think there's a little bit of that dynamic feeling in the pelvic floor, your pelvis will kind of naturally go into neutral as well. The tendon, like the body's this big sphere, and the center of that sphere is the tendon. Lower body's sinking, upper body's floating, releasing space in between the vertebra. Releasing around the chest and then behind the chest, releasing at the base of the skull. Don't like, releasing it might not be like a doing, it might be a not doing. Like I'm stopping what I'm doing. Tongue on the roof of the mouth. Eyes are soft and open. Waypoint is gently pulling the top of the head up. And there's space underneath the armpits, but not exaggerated, it's just natural. When I see someone who's got a shoulder injury, you'll see their shoulder will drag. Like their shoulder's dragging. It doesn't have that levity through the whole body. So when someone's shoulder is injured, often you'll see it kind of dragging. So what's weird is that actually when we connect through the body, the shoulders might go up a little bit. Not that we're bringing them up, but there may be a sense of, oh, my arms are supported, my body's supported. I really don't like this idea of trying to make your scapula go down. This is, I think, really dangerous. Just naturally letting the body be spacious and buoyant. Don't try to put your scapula down. Let's go through some postures. How about we change it up a little bit? Let's start with holding the ball in front of the belly. Let's stay gentle here. The elbows are slightly raised. And then my fingers are pointing down. And that I'm holding this ball, this balloon. For me, as I feel that ball, I can feel if I release in a certain way, that ball feels more real, feels more like it's there. And I feel the tendon reacting as I soften, let that ball be more real. I release my body and the ball shows up more. Don't control the breath. Don't try to put the energy a certain way. And we're looking to let the body show us how to open from the inside out. So within this structure of the posture, we're letting the body show us. That might be really strange. Like maybe you're standing there and very subtly your chin moves some way or your neck moves in some way, and it may be that you don't actually move externally, but you're internally you feel something shift, and then your body the whole body kind of softens. We're looking for these little hints, these little green lights that start to come through. We're not from the top down ordering the body to be a certain way. It's more that we're letting the body reveal through the structure of the postures. Next one, pushing the ball away. So I'm gently, it's like I'm holding that ball now and I'm gently pushing it kind of out and away from my body. This is a harder posture. If you hit your limit here, just go back to Wuji, that's okay. And we want our legs bent, but you know, don't be a hero. So find the spot where, oh, I can do this. I can work with this. My elbows are heavy. Okay. Want to be more and more natural in the posture. And again, maybe it's like it's this balloon, right? It's this balloon you're holding. So it doesn't actually require any muscle to hold that balloon up. It doesn't weigh anything. So why am I using all these muscles? Maybe, some people who get into this stuff, they come from an engineering background or something, and how can I find the angle? My body could be in space that I could release. I'm finding this angle to the ground. Why am I gripping there? I don't need that. I can find this angle to the ground. Natural. In your legs. Dynamic. Like your body's this kind of question mark. Maybe I don't know what's really going on. Maybe I don't know what my body is. I'm wondering. I'm physically kind of wondering. And again, maybe I can adjust. I slightly adjusted my posture in space, and then my arms let go. They released. My shoulders let go. We're having to break out of the box here. Creatively let go of how we're limiting ourselves in space. I think these postures should be a little bit hard. Like if you're there and you're kind of like, well, no big deal. You can always sink a little bit. You can always kind of turn up the heat a little bit. And then the opposite, if you're just there kind of, you know, like a masochist just, in a battle, you could back off a little bit. You might hit more pay dirt that way. Great. Keep it moving. Shake off if you need to. Shake off if you need to. And then let's hug the tree. Let's hug the tree. What if the central channel is like a cylinder? And we can kind of just let our hands ride on that cylinder. And I'm not talking about just the front of the body, the back of the body too. So we're riding on this cylinder of expansiveness. For me, I can stand here and I can do it, I can get through it, but then there's this thing where I kind of say, oh, I think I have to really face this. I've got to give everything I've got to feeling this. I can't just kind of half distract myself. I've got to really give myself to it, and then something moves. So it's not about kind of checking out. Be like this hot iron ball that you can't swallow, you can't spit out. I'm not talking about like a metaphor, I'm talking about what it feels like. Like people think, oh, that's a cute metaphor, but actually they're talking about what it feels like. Make sure your knees are bent. Make sure you're sitting down on that yoga ball or that bar stool. If you're you're there and oh, I got easy. Well, you just stood up or you never sat down. Make sure you're sitting down. Or maybe it'll get easy, like you're there and you got a pretty good posture and it'll get easy and oh gosh, I finally something opened up and it'll get hard again. What if we're not actually holding our arms here? We're just finding a way to let them be buoyant here. And that can be dynamic. So the arms, maybe they're not actually still. There's a sense of they're just being kind of blown up. And I'm just letting them be blown up here and I'm gently holding them in place, but really they're being buoyant and I'm just letting that buoyancy through. Wherever I'm gripping, I'm blocking that buoyancy. Great. And then shake off if you need to. Let's do our final one. Standing in the river. So my hands are pretty much straight out. They can be a little bit forward if that's better. Pretty much straight out. You want to sink through the quad. And my arms they're not stretched out so much that I feel the fascia in my arm, my shoulder kind of tense up. And then they're also not like just totally uncommitted, right? Like the elbows aren't touching the ribs here. You're extending out. And then there's this sense of my whole body kind of comes alive. You're going to have to negotiate kind of your front to back here. And that might be a learning process. Like, okay, I was in what I thought was ideal and my body didn't feel good. So I leaned a little bit and then my body kind of woke up. It may be that you need to creatively find that. If you got knee pain, you're worried about your knees, back off. And also maybe you could find a way that your body could release in space. This might be quite creative. So we're not here to like stress the knee. We're here to find a way to support the body. The knees won't need to grip. Don't control the breath. Let the green light through your system. Let the energy open up, even if it's counterintuitive. Let your body unfurl from within. Even again, if it's not the direction you were thinking would happen. It's like you're standing in a river and the river, I like to think the river's kind of coming at me. And I'm just standing in that river. My hands are on the surface of the water. Or you can imagine like that your hands are resting on balloons, holding your hands up. Your elbows are resting on balloons. Maybe there's a balloon underneath your armpits. You're sitting down on a balloon, you're holding a little balloon between the knees. And they're doing the work. You don't need to do the work. And I would periodically look down at your feet and see if, one hasn't kind of snuck out the door. Turned out, what'll happen is the hips are tight. And so the foot will turn out to support that tight hip. Because putting your feet parallel makes your hips need to your hip and the claw need to open up. And when they're struggling, then the leg will turn out to create a brace to support your hip, your pelvis. One more minute. And maybe just for this last minute, take the awareness, whatever's happening, and just put it in the tendon. Instead of it going outwards, put it back into the tendon and let the body expand out of there. Ready? Come back to Muji. Tanden, the samurais of old would call it like this great rolling ball. As you move around your kind of awareness, like a great rolling ball or like a bridge to everything. Really interesting. How about we take our 5-minute bathroom break and come back and we'll go into the A-folded brocade. I like on this first bit of the mini retreat to just kind of work. So let's do that. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thanks so much. See you later, those that have to sneak out. Okay, coming back. Maybe we've got to find out for ourselves what's really happening. You got to have that kind of spirit here, like, I'm gonna find out. I have to. I have to discover it. I'm gonna creatively discover it. I'm gonna find out what's really going on here. You have to have that kind of intensity, that kind of drive. Let's use the folded brocade just as an exploration. What's really going on here? Maybe the way I hold myself, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe there's something deeper going on here. Maybe I don't even know what my body is. Sinking, holding the ball out in front of the belly. Again, is there a way that it comes alive? Like, oh, I'm doing this, but the whole thing comes alive. And sinking, and the elbows are heavy. And from the ground, I'm releasing into the ground. I'm giving everything into the ground. And my arms are going up, but I'm sinking into the ground. The palms are flat, and I'm lifting up the heavens. And then down at your own pace, back down to about the shoulders, sinking, bending the knees. And again, what's really going on here? Pressing up the heavens. You gotta kind of love the practice. You gotta fall in love with it. Like, something's happening here. Is there a pace where the whole thing becomes bigger? Like if you're blowing up a bubble, you gotta find the pace where the whole thing, if you're too aggressive, it'll pop. So we're finding a pace, oh, I can engage and the whole thing gets bigger. Coming back, pouring into one leg, pouring into the right leg, say, and drawing the elbow back and drawing the bow. I'm pouring all my weight into the right leg. Crossing the arms and standing up a little bit and sinking into the other leg and drawing the bow. Little insights come in. as we open up, little insights just start to pour in here and there. Oh, something interesting is happening. Like your body's this paintbrush you're learning to use. Fade and coming back, holding the ball in from the belly, pouring the weight into one leg, and the opposite arm goes up. Pouring back into the other leg, and the other arm goes up, separating heaven and earth. Is there again, a piece where the whole thing gets more interesting, more powerful? Maybe there's some place, stuck, like in the back, for instance, and there's no other time to work on it. Like work on it now as we move. Is there a way that I could change how I'm moving that could release? I can change how I'm interacting. Great, great. Coming up and hugging the tree, turning the hands out and rotating around. Cow gazes at the moon. And gradually coming back, hugging the tree, turning the hands out and going the other way. We're swimming in this chi. It's not like again, it's not a metaphor. We're swimming in this sea of chi. Three. From the back, releasing the arms and just taking the whole sideline and opening up, reaching over. Don't force. And then go the other way. Using the ground to make the movement happen, not forcing. Don't force, don't force. I'm coming back when you're ready. Then quick how maybe you start to force a little bit. You kind of like I really want to go further, and then all of a sudden you're forcing a little bit. Isn't that? It's interesting. You get a little bit goal oriented, and then all of a sudden you're kind of forcing your tissue. Sinking. Again, like you're standing in that lake, your lower body and your upper body's floating. And then gathering that lake water forward. And then turning the hands down, the elbows are heavy. Bending down and brushing the ankles. The outside of the ankles with the inside of the wrists, and then coming up the back of the legs and nurturing the kidneys. And sinking, gathering. They're at a speed where it's more real. Neat. From the back. Putting the thumbs inside of the fist and pulling them back. Pulling the elbows back a little bit. Pouring down through the right claw down into the right leg. Pull that right elbow back. You're kind of sinking into that whole right side. And then I'm turning my fist over and I'm punching. I'm gently pulling that right elbow back as I punch with my left. And again, we're not falling forward. We're not diving on top of the person we're talking to, the interaction. we're staying in the ground, staying rooted. And I'm exhaling completely here without force. And then when I'm finished as far as I can go, then the inhale will invade the body. Don't focus on the inhale, and then fully relaxing, going the other way. And I'm going to change my volume here just so that people can hear me making noises, but you don't need to make noise if you're by yourself. Great. And you notice when you're doing that, if you use force, then the breath gets short or gets choppy. And so it shows us how can I get my awareness, my focus, my intention just all in one direction. And I'm doing it and I'm trying so hard and the whole thing gets real choppy. So I've got to refine the way that I focus. And that's what the breathing does. It helps us kind of bring our whole body into oneness, our whole focus into oneness, rather than being scattered. Heels of the wrist on the lower back. And then I like to jump at first. You don't have to jump, but I like to. And maybe more subtle, a little bit smaller movements, but gently releasing wherever the joints are tight or wherever the body's tight, just gently releasing. And then I like to let the arms go. Releasing. Changing it up. I like to do a little wobble too. A little bit of wobble, like I'm taking the whole middle of the body and I'm trying to just wobble it. Creatively wobbling to seeing, oh, I'm a little bit sticky there. I could release a little bit there without force. Like if I do it a little bit too intensely, my body will protest. It'll react. So I'm gently engaging. What if someone just took the bow waypoint, that little thread, and they just started to shake us a little bit from that? Someone's just shaking us from the bow waypoint. The whole body's just being shaken. And then they took the tendon, they started shaking it a little left or right, shaking the tendon. And just don't hurt yourself, just shaking the tendon left to right. And up and down. Someone's just shaking the tendon up and down. Great, great. I like to try to shake out my arms a little bit. I work with my arms a lot, so I like to try to shake them out. Shaking out the arms. These little bones on the outside of the lower arms. Want to try to free that a little bit. It's a radius bone. Um, it's really a shock absorber. So we want to kind of release that. Same with the collarbone and same with the fibula on the outside of the lower legs. They're these key bones. They need to be released, and then the whole structure can release. So if the radius bone is tight, then the shoulder is locked up. Collarbone is a little bit seized up, then the whole shoulder's seized up. So we want to release these key bones. And you can even take, and lean against something and try to shake out that lower leg. Shaking out that lower leg. Little bones in there. A lot of times when people break the ankle, they break the bottom of the fibula. And then the other one. Great, great, great. I'd love to take a few minutes here and let's just get curious in space. Take off the safety valve for a couple minutes here. And let's just see what our body's doing, what it wants to do. I hope it's surprising to you, like you're standing there and you go, oh, my body's trying to do that. That's, wow, I didn't expect that. I hope you're hit by that. what if just for this few minutes here, what if we just profoundly relax, like maybe even more than we normally do? Like I'm gonna just dramatically relax. Like I'm gonna give up. I'm just gonna totally give up in space here. I'm not gonna like half be, trying to do well. Just gonna, what am I feeling? And I'm just gonna give into that. I'm whatever that is. Just to profoundly relax. And what'll happen for a lot of us is we're there and we're standing there and or we're sitting and some things will start to happen and your system will kind of it'll be used to filtering those things that start to happen. Like, oh, there's this sense of movement or some inner sensation, and your natural tendency, your maybe not natural, but your tendency will be like, okay, those aren't important. I'm not going to feel those. I got business to do, and so they get bypassed what's going on in our system. And so here we're just maybe something starts to happen in your system and you just give it a little space. Something interesting's happening, and it can be like subtle at first. Like again, my joke about you're playing soccer, you're playing football, and then on the sideline there's something going on, and what's that? There's something interesting going on there. And what is that? And you get curious. You give it a little space, and it starts to take over a little bit more. And that requires, giving permission to this kind of outlier, this strange feeling in your system. And that's really hard for a lot of us. We don't know how to do that. We want to do it right. Just letting that have a little bit of space, letting it blossom. Maybe it's wrong, but we're just giving it a little space here. You kind of feel like a traitor, like, well, I'm sorry, meditation God, I'm listening to this thing that's happening. I know it's not what you want me to do, but I have to. It's something interesting's happening. You kind of feel like this traitor kind of snickering a little bit. You can't help yourself. And maybe try to control it a little bit, try to help it a little bit. I'll kind of speed this up. And then you see, I do that and I get in the way, I block it. So it's this subtle, very subtle golden thread of something really interesting happening. And I can, it requires all my focus to feel it. I've got to just let go of everything to feel it. It drives me deeper and deeper into a process. maybe at first we can only focus on it for a little while and then we kind of get a little bit tired or get a little bit fried. But over time, we can kind of feel that, let it through. Our systems got more space. It starts to happen all the time. I have to continually, question, am I being real with what's happening right now? Or do I think I know what's happening? Actually, if I look closer, oh, wasn't really with it. I had an assumption of what was happening and I was actually not listening. Well, we do a little bit of movement, just getting curious here. If you can't do this, that's okay. I'm going to pour my weight all into my left leg. Okay, pouring all the weight into the left leg. And then pouring all the weight into the right leg. Or maybe it's like it's all kind of being like a vacuum, kind of vacuum down into the ground in the right leg. Now, as I go down into the left leg again, I'm giving all my weight to that left leg, and my right arm's going to come up. Maybe just like to about the head. And then down. And then pouring the weight into the right leg, and the left hand comes up. And then this time, as we pour into the left and the right hand comes up, maybe the right foot just comes up off the ground a little bit here. And then pouring into the right, the left hand comes up and the left foot just comes up off the ground a little bit here. just as you need to. Wait. And coming back. I want to do a little bit of sitting to book in this. So let's do our three big movements, gathering down to the lower dantian. And then at the end, the right hand for the men, the right hand on the tendon, left hand over that. For the women, the left hand first and then the right hand over that. This is like from Taoism, and that the energy moves differently through the male and the female body. And then how about we put the heels of our wrist on our lower back? And then we're gonna go like a V down to the tailbone 49 times. And rubbing, patting, rubbing and patting. In a sinus season, patting the base of the skull. You know who I'm talking to. Down the outside, the arms up the inside, down the outside. I have some sinus issues myself, I don't think it's a great design. Get the kidneys. Wherever you're tight, like are you tight in your mid back? Rub it, rub it. I had this acupuncturist friend in Japan. I said, "Oh, I have this pain." He said, "Why don't you rub it?" Get the energy there. Down the outside of the legs, up the inside. Down the outside, up the inside. Down the back legs, up the front. Down the back legs, up the front. Great, great. I'm gonna give a little bow, and how about we do a little sitting to bookend this? breathe in. You have to profoundly relax to really work with this. Great, great. I'm gonna give a little bow. Thank you so much. And, in terms of taking it out and working with it, like, how do I keep this going, that whole thing, like, what's still happening as we leave, as we take a little walk, see how your vision has changed, see how you look at the ground and if there's a spiral, or see what's happening, what's trying to happen through your system, how is it still invading my system? How's it, how can I remove the barrier between myself and the flower, all that stuff, just being curious about it, using your creativity. This is how people change. They take it off the cushion and they see how it's still happening. They make it real. Anyway, questions, comments from today? Thanks so much for joining us. Objections? Pardon me, I have a little cold, but I'm okay. Yeah, anything you want to throw out there, please do. This concept of kufu, this is it's like a Japanese word. Kufu is kind of like, it's kind of like if you were, I use this example all the time, sorry, but if you're working in the garden and the wheelbarrow wheel kind of gets loose, kind of gets messed up, and then you kind of rig something up to make the wheelbarrow wheel work still. That's kufu, that creative, like, problem solving. But then it can really be about how do I creatively interact with what's happening, and that means kind of like interacting differently. Like, oh, I'm adjusting to what's happening. I'm thinking outside of the box, and that's what what practice is. It's this whatever we're in our box about it, then that starts to be we're a slave to that. So we're opening up out of that, and that's the kufu is. And how do I do that as I go walk around? And people who just fall in love with that, they start to change. So hope that makes sense. Anything before we go? Okay, I'll be here at 1 o'clock my time, 1 to 3. We'll do the first hour. We'll do a mixture, and then the second hour, most of it is just non-directed. And it's nice because we got kind of cooking, and then going into that last hour of non-directed can be pretty interesting. Okay. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. It's been a great immersion. We got a little bit more here. Thanks so much. And if you want to join the year-long program, if you feel called to do that, want to keep going with us, great. And otherwise, let me know what you need. Thanks so much. And see you a little later. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.